Okay. Welcome, everyone. We're going to resume this evening's regular meeting of council. As you may have seen on the agenda, we had a brief in-camera discussion. Welcome to everyone in the gallery tonight, and to those of you watching at home. Reminder for those in the room and those watching that tonight's meeting is actually being broadcast live and for future viewing on our YouTube channel. It's also available on Tell-Il for the next week or so. I'll begin by acknowledging that we are gathered here today in Unama'ki, the land of the fog, a part of Mi'kma'ki, the unceded traditional territory of the Mi'kmaq people since time immemorial. We honor and thank the Mi'kmaq for sharing their land and home with us. We're going to proceed to O Canada and ask that you stand insofar as you're able for the playing of O Canada. Okay, thank you, everyone. We have a quorum here tonight. There's 3 of us in the room. Councillor Mumbercat is joining us virtually, as is our CAO. Thank you to staff who are attending the AMAN's conference. Thank you to Danielle Martel, who's filling in for our clerk tonight, and thank you to Clayton, who made his way back from the conference to make sure our technology was working. So I'm going to ask that Danielle Martel, who is filling in for the clerk tonight, to take the roll call of councillors.
From District 1, Councillor Sean Sampson.
Present.
From District 2, Warden Lois Landry.
Present.
From District 3, Councillor Marchand.
Present.
From District 4, Councillor Amanda Mumbercat.
Present.
And District 5, Deputy Warden Brent Sampson.
Thank you very much, Danielle. Deputy Warden Sampson has sent his regrets for the evening. So we held an in-camera meeting earlier, and there were some recommendations that came out of that. Do I have anyone interested in making a motion around that?
Certainly, thank you, Warden. I'll jump in there, and I'd like to make a motion to appoint Kate Cave as the representative for Richmond County to the Medora Lakes Biosphere Region Association. And in addition, to appoint Andrew Frederick Potty,
I believe it's Adam.
Frederick Potty to the Inclusive, Diverse, Equity, and Accessibility Committee.
Thank you, Councillor. We have a motion on the floor. Can we have a seconder? Seconded by Councillor Marchand. Is there any discussion on that? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying yes. Yes?
Yes.
Those opposed? That motion carries. Thank you very much, and thank you to the folks who represent us on these committees and put their names forward. So moving on to the agenda. There is an agenda that was circulated last week. Are there any additions to the agenda as circulated? If there are not, then I would entertain a motion to adopt the agenda as circulated. Moved by Councillor Marchand. Can I have a seconder? Seconded by Councillor Sampson. No discussion on that. Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying yes. Yes. Those opposed? That motion carries. We were busy the last few months, and so we have several minutes to review and adopt. So the first, for those folks that are following along with the package that's available online, those are from pages 4 to 15 in your meeting package, and they are regarding the regular meeting that was held on June 24th. So looking for any errors or omissions, and if there are none, a motion to adopt those minutes.
Warden, I'll make the motion to adopt the June 24th regular council meeting minutes.
Can we have a seconder on that? Seconded by Councillor Sampson. Is there any discussion or notes of interest, errors or omissions in that set of minutes? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying yes. Yes.
Yes.
Those opposed? That motion carries. The next was a special council meeting that we held on July 22nd. Those minutes are in your package from pages 16 to 18. If anybody has any concerns about those, otherwise looking for a motion to adopt. Moved by Councillor Sampson to approve the minutes of July 22nd. Can I have a seconder? Seconded by Councillor Marchand. Any discussion on that? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying yes. Yes.
Yes.
Those opposed? That motion carries. And finally, we had another special meeting in August this year on the 13th. Those minutes are from pages 19 to 20 of your package. And again, if there are no errors or omissions, I'd be happy to hear a motion to adopt. Moved by Councillor Marchand. Can I have a seconder? Seconded by Councillor Sampson. Any discussion on that? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying yes. Yes. Those opposed? Yes. Motion carries. Now we have a question period. Just a note, we have two question periods, one at the beginning and one a little bit later. This one is if you have any questions specifically related to the Committee of the Whole, Bylaw Policy, PAC, Recreation Advisory, Audit, or Fire Services Committee reports that are in here. If there are other questions, we'll save those till later. So we'll open the phone lines. The number is 226-9885, so 902-226-9885. There's a slight delay with the phone, so we always wait a little longer to the point of it being awkward, just to make sure we give the phone lines a chance to ring through. But again, these are for questions on the committee reports. We have another question period later. Yep, to the gallery short and phone, yeah. And just for people who are in the gallery and just wondering, there was some concern that if you had a question about something that was in one of these reports, by the time question period came around, we had already voted on those. So there's two question periods now, so that if you have any questions on the committee reports, you get to ask your question before council actually votes on it. And I tip my hat to previous council for making that change, because it really is helpful to make sure that decisions are really well informed. Okay, so I talked enough there to stall. So hearing no questions on committee reports, we'll move on, on the question period, we'll move on to the actual committee reports. So there are 6 committee reports, as I mentioned. Typically, Deputy Warden Sampson reads most of these, but he isn't here with us this evening, so his fellow councillors are assuming this responsibility. So I'm going to start with Committee of the Whole report. For those folks who like to follow along, it's pages 21 to 22 of the package that's online. And I'm going to turn it over to Councillor Sean Sampson for the Committee of the Whole report for September of 2025.
Thank you, Warden Landry. So the Committee of the Whole report for September 2025. The committee met on September 9th, 2025. The committee discussed the taxi license and taxi driver's license application. I move that Council accept the recommendation of the Committee of the Whole and approve the taxi license and taxi driver's license application for Willie's Taxi as discussed in camera.
So there's a motion on the floor. Can I have a seconder? That is seconded by Councillor Mumbercat. Any discussion on that? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying yes. Yes. Those opposed? That motion carries. The
committee discussed the Recreation Nova Scotia Conference sponsorship. I move that council accept the recommendation of the Committee of the Whole and accept the staff recommendation to sponsor the Recreation Nova Scotia Conference at the silver sponsor level of $1,000 and be allocated from the sponsorship budget.
We have a motion on the floor. Can I have a seconder?
I'll second it.
Seconded by Councillor Mumbercat. Is there any discussion on that? Councillor Marchand?
Yes, thank you, Warden. I can't support this. We had an ask from a gentleman or a young lad in my community that was involved with baseball, and although there's not a lot of policy, I commend the CAO for bringing this to us to vote on this, because I think he can just give this money out himself without even coming to us. So the fact that we wouldn't even support someone in our county, and here we are supporting an organization province-wide. I have no issue with our staff going to getting any of the information at these conferences. We pay for that. But to sponsor these, my assumption was the sponsor was for events here in our community, or our county. So I can't support this because of those things. Thank you, Warden.
Thank you. Do we have any other discussion on that? Hearing none. I don't want to. Hearing none. All those in favor of the motion on the floor signify by saying yes. Yes.
Yes.
Those opposed? Nay. No. Nay. And that is recorded for the minutes. Yeah. Okay. So back over to you, Councillor Sampson.
The committee discussed the Richmond Arena updates as presented in the Administration Operations Report. I move that Council accept the recommendation of the Committee of the Whole and direct staff to investigate all possible funding opportunities for the repairs to the Richmond Arena.
We have a motion on the floor, seconded by Councillor Marchand. Any discussion on that? Go ahead, CAO.
Thank you, Warden. Through you to the rest of the council, just for clarity on this as well. When we go looking for the grants on this, we always wait until we have like a defined scope of work that we need to do. So at this point, for clarity and to make sure that we're all on the same page, we're going back to the original motion back in March that, with the future or with the further investigation that was done on the roof and the walls over the late spring and summer, council is now okay that we explore replacing the flooring and the refrigeration and associated works under the floor and apply for grants appropriately. Is that correct? Just to make sure I'm clear.
Yeah, I'll let anybody kind of pop in there, but I believe we were really, we had made that decision contingent upon feeling confident that the roof wasn't going to collapse, and so we wanted to make sure that we got the recommendation. Then that took us to a report that did seem to say, you got to be careful about how much snow. That's been addressed by staff. So I believe that my concerns, certainly, that stemmed from just making sure the rest of the building was okay enough to move forward, have been certainly addressed. So, Councillor Marchand, I see you have something.
Thank you, Warden. Yeah, CAO, I think I was the one that made the motion. It might have even been February about that. And when I made that motion then, it was, as you say, looking for funding for the flooring and the refrigeration upgrades. The reason I kind of brought it up at our last meeting, I had seen some arena rehabilitation grants that were given out province-wide. So I just wanted to know the status on our applications for that. But this motion you're saying tonight is for moving forward on the replacement of the floor, the underfloor piping, and the refrigeration, correct?
That is what I now have clarity on, and I just want to make sure that council and staff were lockstep on what we were actually doing.
Yes.
And we will apply for the appropriate funds that match that kind of work. 100% we will.
Thank you, Troy, and thank you, Warden.
Go ahead, Councillor Mumbercat.
Thank you, Warden. So it did not include roofing?
Well, some of the repair, if I may, Warden, the roof monitoring system got installed last week, so that stuff's in. There's other things on the roof that are not in this motion that aren't in the budget either. Some minor things were going to be addressed, but anything major will require further conversation with council and a defined scope for us to act upon.
Just a follow-up to that, Ward, I guess what I would suggest is, because I totally agree with the intent of that motion. I think that's great. But I think just until or if we proceed with development of any kind of new potential multi-use recreational center in the county, it'd be great to kind of see, and I think we have a little bit of that, where we actually have seen kind of that from the building assessments, just a bit of a, I don't know what to call it, but maybe a hit list of, based on the severity of the issue or how old the infrastructure is, the safety level, just that ongoing kind of list of what's our hit list of things we need to take care of for the Richmond Arena. And I believe, Troy, you have that, but I think as long as we've got that in place, I'd be totally supportive of funding applications to pursue that work, knowing that sometimes what's most urgent in our minds maybe doesn't fit into a funding program that's available. You know what I mean? So there'll have to be some give and take there.
And just a reminder, oh, go ahead.
Sorry, I was just going to say, council will see this numerous times before any commitment is made, of course. But just so that I can give proper instruction to the Director of Public Works and his team, just wanted to make sure that us, as we understood it in council, were on the same page, so you guys aren't waiting for something,
right,
or have some unrealistic time frame that we may not be able to hit, because with 25 quickly ending, we may actually spend 26 doing preliminary work to get to 27 having work done. That's not outside the realm of the possibility, considering how hard it is to get people on job sites these days. Just want to make sure everybody's aware of that, that's all. Right,
and we knew that doing work this past summer was out of the question based on the amount of availability companies like that would have. And just so that we're all on the same page, just to say it out loud, there was additional work that was required through OHS, that's ongoing, that's not included in this, and no matter what we did, that was going to have to be done, and we had discussed that at budget. Yep. Councillor Marchand, do you have anything?
Yeah.
Thank you, Warden. To Councillor Mumberket's point, I think some of the work that was involved in the last report that we had, I thought we made a motion after that meeting to get the purlin work, the girders, those things, to get them looked at through the operation budget. Was that not the case? Because I get the impression Councillor Mumberket is wondering about grants to do those repairs.
To clarify my point, it's just to do any repairs. I just asked about roofing because I knew we had some work underway there.
Yeah.
But I just, like, in general for the arena, I think it would be really great for us to have that kind of hit list so that we've got a plan of attack until such time as we no longer facilitate.
Okay, because I thought we had directed staff to get the work, the small little repairs that were noted in that report, the last report we received.
Yeah, I believe that they would do any work they have the budget to do without ever coming to us. So if the budget is, if there's money in the budget for regular maintenance, that doesn't have to go through us. That's through the regular process that staff would follow. So does that get you the clarity that you need, CAO?
It does, Warden, and we're going to have many more conversations on the Richmond Arena as things get knocked off that punch list, and we keep the doors open as best we can until there's a longer-term solution.
Perfect, great. So we have a motion on the floor which actually relates to applying for funding. And I do want to say we made a previous motion to apply for funding, and that staff report back to us, and they did. I think Councillor Marchand had heard of a funding source that maybe had not been available back then. So we're just, for the general public, super interested in every funding opportunity that either the province or the feds provide. So there's a motion on the floor. Is there any other discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying yes. Yes.
Yes.
Those opposed? Motion carries.
The committee discussed a proclamation request from Josie Robinson, Community Engagement Officer at the Kingston Memorial Community Health Center regarding Global Media and Information Literacy Week. I moved that Council accept the recommendation of the Committee of the Whole and proclaim October 24th to 31st, 2025 as Global Media and Information Literacy Week.
So there's a motion on the floor, and on page 22 of your package, you'll see that proclamation. I'm looking for a seconder and then some discussion. And after we vote on it, if it's in the affirmative, then I'll read the proclamation for the record. So we have a seconder, Councillor Marchand. Any discussion on that? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying yes. Yes.
Yes.
Those opposed, that motion carries. And I will, CAO, I believe I read the whole proclamation?
Yes, ma'am, at this time.
Great. Okay, Global Media Information Literacy Week, which is October 24th to 31st of 2025. Whereas all citizens of Richmond County deserve to feel safe and supported online, no matter their age, class, race, gender, or geography. And whereas community awareness can help individuals feel empowered in the age of information overwhelm and information overwhelm and information pollution. And whereas artificial intelligence is now rapidly proliferating and interacting with human users online. And whereas accurate and timely information are crucial for the safe and equitable for a safe and equitable society, whereas misinformation and disinformation negatively impact health outcomes by contributing to social isolation, division, and hate, whereas curbing the spread of false information online helps keep citizens of Richmond County prepared during times of crisis, and whereas fostering an online critical thinking and fact-checking skills is an act of care and protection of our communities, and whereas media and information literacy skills are crucial for maintaining democracy and trust in Canadian institutions. Therefore, be it resolved that I, Warden Lois Landry, on behalf of Richmond County Municipal Council, do hereby proclaim October 24th to 31st, 2025 as Global Media Information Literacy Week in Richmond County, dated in Arishat this 23rd day of September. Okay.
The committee discussed the letter of support request from Jacqueline Giroir, Economic Development Officer at the CDENE, regarding the celebration Almadam. I move that Council accept the recommendation of the Committee of the Whole and authorize the Warden to provide a letter of support regarding the celebration Almadam, following a conversation with CDENE to explore any opportunities to expand or include other Acadian communities in the broader Richmond County area.
There's a motion on the floor. Can I have a seconder? Seconded by Councillor Marchand. Any discussion on that? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying yes. Yes. Those opposed? That motion carries.
This concludes the Committee of the Whole report for the month of September 2025, and I move its adoption.
Thank you, Councillor Sampson. There's a motion to adopt the Committee of the Whole report. Can I have a seconder? Seconded by Councillor Marchand. All those in favor? Oh, sorry. Any discussion on that? None. All those in favor signify by saying yes. Yes. Those opposed? Motion carries. Thank you very much, Councillor Sampson. I will now ask Councillor Mumbercat to do the next two committee reports. So this one coming up next is the Bylaw and Policy report for September of 2025.
Okay, thanks, Warden. Bylaw and Policy Committee report for September 2025. The committee met on September 9th, 2025. The committee discussed the hands-free cell phone policy. I move that Council accept the recommendation of the Bylaw and Policy Committee and repeal the hands-free cell phone policy.
Thank you, Councillor. We have a seconder, seconded by Councillor Marchand. Any discussion on that? All those in favor signify by saying yes. Yes. Those opposed?
Yes.
That motion carries.
The committee discussed the Dundee Hills Development Wastewater Management District Bylaw, Bylaw number 64. I move that Council accept the recommendation of the Bylaw Policy Committee and proceed with the repeal process of the Dundee Hills Development Wastewater Management District Bylaw, Bylaw number 64.
Thank you. We have a motion on the floor. Can I have a seconder? Seconded by Councillor Marchand. Any discussion on that? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying yes. Yes. Those opposed?
Yes.
That motion carries.
The committee discuss the updated appendices of the Comfort Centers policy. I move that council accept the recommendation of the Bylaw Policy Committee and adopt the following updated appendices to the Comfort Center policy. Appendix B, list of MOCR Comfort Centers, and Appendix B1, Comfort Centers map.
Thank you. There's a motion on the floor. Can I have a seconder? Seconded by Councillor Sampson. Any discussion on that? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying yes. Yes. Those opposed? That motion carries.
The committee discussed the amendments to the low-income exemption program policy. I move that council accept the recommendation of the Bylaw Policy Committee and adopt the amendments to the low-income tax exemption program policy as presented, with the addition of a revision to the policy title by inserting the word property before the word tax.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor. Can I have a seconder? Seconded by Councillor Sampson. Any discussion on that? He got to it before you. What can I tell you? Just to say that this is an important amendment. This amendment allows council to much more quickly, should they change their mind during budget deliberations and the budget process, to much more quickly let residents know when they have made changes. So in this round of the budget, we actually did raise the income threshold and we increased the amount. And so this gives us, this change to the policy allows us to report that to residents much more quickly. Anything? Yes. Yes. Moving forward. Yeah. Okay. Any other discussion on that? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying yes. 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 Those opposed? That motion carries.
The committee discussed setting the household income threshold and property tax exemption amount for the low-income tax exemption program. I move that council accept the recommendation of the Bylaw Policy Committee and set the household income threshold at $30,000 and the property tax exemption amount at $200 for the low-income tax exemption program.
Yes, so this is the one, these two together are both for the property tax assessment. Do I have a seconder? Seconded by Councillor Marchand. Is there any discussion on this one? Go ahead, Councillor Marchand.
I just, because we have it now, we've changed it to property tax exemption, but the last sentence just says, still says low income tax exemption. It's a low income property tax exemption.
Sure. So what we have is an amendment that refers to the low income tax exemption program. And just 2 seconds ago, we changed the name of that. So I'd be looking for an amendment. So Councillor Marchand, would you move an amendment to change that to include the word low-income property tax exemption?
Yes, if the mover's okay, I'll make a new motion to amend.
On the amendment? Seconded by Councillor Sampson. All those in favor of the amendment signify by saying yes. Yes.
Yes.
Those opposed? That motion carries, and so the new motion is exactly the same, but it does rename the policy so that there's no confusion. This refers to your property taxes. So is there any discussion on the amended motion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying yes. Oh, sorry, go ahead,
The warden, I was just going to say, for a little insight for council, we had changed that one to low-income property as well, and then we caught ourselves saying, we can't do that yet because it hasn't been changed by council yet.
So yes.
We went through the same thing that council just did
Good.
now when we were writing this up.
Sounds good. Yeah, no, it's better that we did it that way, I think. Okay, all those in favor signify by saying yes. Yes.
Yes.
Those opposed? That motion carries. Go ahead, Councillor.
The committee discussed the municipal fees policy. I move that council accept the recommendation of the Bylaw Policy Committee and adopt the municipal fees policy as presented.
There's a motion on the floor. Can I have a seconder? Seconded by Councillor Sampson. Any discussion on that? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying yes. Yes. Those
Yes.
opposed? That motion carries.
The committee discussed the bylaw policy section of the working list. I move that council accept the recommendation of the Bylaw Policy Committee and remove item 21, Heritage Bylaw, and item 22, Heritage Property Designation Policy, from the working list.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor. Can we have a seconder? Seconded by Councillor Marchand. Do you have a question?
So we're still leaving those as they are now, right?
Correct. There was a motion of council quite some time ago, prior to us being on this council, that put these two policies on the working list to be considered, and so it's a motion that takes them off.
I thought there was concerns with both of these. So are we not going to be making any changes to them?
At this point, yeah, we're in terms of the working order of the ones we're most likely to have some work on, yeah. So there's no change to the policy as they exist. Okay, any other discussion on that? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Yes.
Those opposed? No, great, motion carried.
The committee discussed the discussion section of the working list. I move that council accept the recommendation of the bylaw policy committee and remove item 5, roaming farm animals, and item 6, animal bylaw, from the working list.
Okay, can I have a seconder? Seconded by Councillor Marchand. Any other discussion on those? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying yes.
Yes.
Those opposed, that motion carries.
This concludes the monthly report of the bylaw policy committee for the month of September 2025, and I move its adoption.
Thank you, Councillor Mumbercat. There's a motion to adopt by the bylaw and policy committee report. Can I have a seconder? Seconded by Councillor Sampson. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying yes. Yes. Those opposed? That motion carries. I will say that that is probably the most motions per minute that we've done. And so at the beginning of the season, tend to kind of direct our work by making sure we have a really effective list. And so that was a lot of work to get us to the point where we'll make great strides moving forward. So I will turn it back over to Councillor Mumbercat for the Planning Advisory Heritage Committee report. For those following along at home, it's page 25 of your package.
Thanks, Warden. This is the Planning Advisory Heritage Committee report for the month of September 2025. The committee met on September 2nd, 2025. The committee discussed implementing a standing agenda item titled Review of Action Items. I move that council accept the recommendation of the Planning Advisory Heritage Committee and direct staff to implement a standing agenda item titled Review of Action Items.
I have a motion on the floor. Can I have a seconder? Seconded by Councillor Marchand. Any discussion on that? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying yes.
Yes.
Those opposed, that motion carries.
The committee discussed the Nova Scotia Department of Agriculture's municipal survey on agriculture and planning. I move that council accept the recommendation of the Planning Advisory Heritage Committee and direct the Director of EDPC to participate in the municipal survey on agriculture and planning.
Okay, there's a motion on the floor. Can I have a seconder? Seconded by Councillor Marchand. Any discussion on that? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying yes.
Yes.
That motion carries.
This concludes the monthly report of the Planning Advisory Heritage Committee for the month of September 2025, and I move its adoption.
Can I have a seconder? Seconded by Councillor Marchand. Any discussion on that? None, all those in favor signify by saying yes.
Yes.
Motion carries. Okay, and now we will turn it over to Councillor Brian Marchand, who's going to deliver the next several reports, starting with the Recreation Advisory Committee report.
Thank you, Warden. The Recreation Advisory Committee report for the month of September 2025. The committee met on September the 11th, 2025. The committee discussed the Richmond Arena Structural Analysis Phase 2 report. I move that council accept the recommendation of the Recreation Advisory Committee and that staff be directed to prepare a communication and evacuation plan to address the potential to close the arena to the public if the snow load on the roof of the Richmond Arena reaches 24 pounds per square foot.
Is there any seconder on that? Seconded by Councillor Sampson. Discussion on that? I'll start. I'm on this committee, and so we believe and are certain and have been informed by the Director of Recreation that there is an evacuation plan. For example, if there's a fire alarm, there's a plan to evacuate for that, as the fire marshal would say, and there'd be a communication plan. So just wanted to make sure that there was, including the fact that there may be times where people have to leave the building because of snow load. So it's just to make sure there aren't kids standing outside because school, the arena had to close, and just a communication plan to that effect. So much like you would a fire alarm. Go ahead, Councillor Marchand, did you have a?
Thank you, Warden. CAO, did you say that the system for measuring the stress on the roof is now in and working? Okay, so that'll be great.
Confirm whether it's fully functional at this point. I know the roof mount, that stuff was all completed last week. As to its full functionality with the computers and everything, I can't confirm that at this point. I do know that discussions are happening between Public Works and Recreation on how the SOPs for this are going to roll out. Ideally, it won't be in an evacuation thing. We'll see if there's any stress on the roof and with plenty of notification, because the last thing we want is anybody driving an hour to go to a hockey game and then have to leave it. I think we'll be a little more proactive than that and err on the side of caution anyway if snow loads are coming or anticipated. But again, I don't want to preempt the discussions that have to take place between Public Works, nor the education we're going to get from the people that install this equipment, how real time it is. So there's still work to be done here, but yes, by all means, SOPs for this equipment, how it's going to roll out to our parents and kids and everybody that uses that facility. We have a month or so to figure this out and get it publicized, get it out there, and hopefully be as proactive as we can so we don't have people driving in winter conditions when they don't need to, if a situation arises that the facility under caution shouldn't be used.
Right, and just to reiterate to the public, the building isn't set to open till mid-October anyway, so all of those things will be ready to go before the building is opened. Okay. Anything else?
Yes,
okay. Okay, hearing no more discussion on that, all those in favor signify by saying yes. Yes. Those opposed? That motion carries.
This concludes the Recreation Advisory Committee report for the month of September 2025, and I move its adoption.
There's a motion on the floor. Can I have a seconder? Seconded by Councillor Sampson. Any discussion on that? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying yes. Yes. Those opposed? That motion carries. So I'll turn it back over to Councillor Marchand, who will now take a look at our audit committee report. And the first agenda item there is the, the first agenda item is appointment of auditors. So.
Thank you, Warden. The Audit Committee report, September 15, 2025. The committee met on September the 15th, 2025. The committee discussed the appointment of auditors. I move the Council accept the recommendation of the Audit Committee and send out a request for proposal, RFP, for auditors.
We have a motion on the floor. Can I have a seconder? Seconded by Councillor Sampson. We had some discussion around the fact that this motion does not include reference to the length of the term for auditors. Wondering if anyone wants to address that by way of amendment, or if we're happy with things as they are. Go ahead, Councillor.
I'll move an amendment to this to have the length of the proposal to 5 years.
Okay. So the motion, the amendment proposed is to specify that this is for a 5-year arrangement. Can I have a seconder on that? Seconded by Councillor Sampson. It's like going to an auction, you guys, online. If you bring your hand up like this, I think you may have bought a cow. So we have a seconder in Councillor Sampson. All those in favor of the amendment signify by saying yes. 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 Those opposed? That motion carries. And so now the motion on the floor is to accept the recommendation of the Audit Committee and send a request for RFP for auditors for the term of 5 years. So we have a motion and a seconder for that. All those in favor of that amended motion signify by saying yes. Yes.
Yes.
Those opposed, that motion carries. So, Councillor Marchand, I'll get you to move the adoption of this report.
Thank you, Warden. This concludes the Audit Committee report for September 15, 2025, and I move its adoption.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor. Can I have a seconder? Seconded by Councillor Sampson. All those in favor signify by saying yes. Yes. Those opposed? That motion carries. So the Audit Committee also met on September 22nd, 2025, which was last night. Due to the meeting date, the report did not make it into the regular meeting package, but we had a holding place in the agenda listed as verbal. So I'm going to ask Councillor Marchand to read a report on that meeting that was held last night, just as he did the previous report, so that it is read into the record, and we will post the report to the public on the municipal website.
Thank you, Warden. Audit Committee report for September 22nd, 2025. The committee met on September 22nd, 2025. The committee discussed the draft financial statements. I move that Council accept the recommendation of the Audit Committee and approve the draft financial statements of the municipality for the year ended March 31st, 2025 as presented, with non-substantive changes as discussed.
We have a motion on the floor. Can I have a seconder?
I'll second that.
Seconded by Councillor Mumbercat. Any discussion on that? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying yes. Yes.
Yes.
Those opposed? That motion carries.
This concludes the Audit Committee report for September 22nd, 2025, and I move its adoption.
Can I have a seconder on the adoption of that?
I'll second it.
Seconded by Councillor Mumbercat. There you go. All those in favor signify by saying yes. Yes.
Yes.
Those opposed? That motion carries. And I would be remiss if I did not echo what was said at the Audit Committee meeting, but I cannot stress enough how hard the Department of Finance staff worked in order to get us to the point where we were able to meet the September 30th deadline. This is the audited statements for the year ending 2025. The year ending 2024, we're not finished until the end of May. So in order for that to happen, finance staff really had to do all the things while at the same time getting us through the budget deliberation process. So to Kathleen, Jeffrey, and her team, just exemplary work. So thank you. And so we're down to the last report, and Councillor Marchand actually sits on the Fire Protection Services Committee, so he will read the report for us.
Thank you, Warden. Fire Protection Services Committee report, September 2025. The committee last met on September the 17th, 2025. The committee discussed a dry hydrant policy and priority list. I move that Council accept the recommendation of the Fire Protection Services Committee and direct staff to investigate a dry hydrant installation in Cleveland, County Line Road, Riverside Road, and Highway 4, southeast side of Bridge.
Is there a motion on the floor? Can I have a seconder? Seconded by Councillor Sampson. Just for reference, that's one that's one place, that's one location, all of those names. I know there's been lots of discussion about the dry hydrant policy. We currently have one, so this is following the current policy, notwithstanding any changes we might make down the road, but this is with respect to current policy. Any other discussion on this? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying yes. Yes. Those opposed? That motion carries.
This concludes the report for the Fire Protection Services Committee for September 2025, and I move its adoption.
We have a motion on the floor. Can I have a seconder? Seconded by Councillor Sampson. Any discussion on that? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying yes. 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 Those opposed? That motion carries. Great. Lots of reports. I do want to commend the chiefs at the Fire Protection Services Committee. The last couple of meetings, there have been discussions, and all the chiefs have worked together, and so all the chiefs agreed that on location of this and the importance of small fire departments. So many thanks to them for the productive sessions. So now we have, as you read in our bylaw and policy report that was given to us by, I believe, Councillor Mumbercat, we did move the repeal of a bylaw, which requires a separate process. So the next item on the agenda is the first reading for the repeal of bylaw 64, Dundee Hills Development Wastewater Management District bylaw, was brought in for a reason that is no longer necessary. You can read about it on page 29 of the package. And should there be interest, I'm looking for a motion that council give first reading approval of bylaw number R100, repeal of bylaw number 64, Dundee Hills Development Wastewater Management District bylaw. Moved by Councillor Marchand. Can I have a seconder?
I'll second that.
Seconded by Councillor Mumbercat. Any discussion on that? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying yes. Yes.
Yes.
That motion carries. New business. You can follow this information on pages 30 to 39. There is a memo from staff on pages 30 and 31, and then there is an application. There's explanation about the grid funding application in the remaining pages from pages 32 to 39. So the purpose of this briefing note is to seek a motion from council authorizing staff to proceed with the application of the province's Growth and Renewal for Infrastructure Development Fund. So throwing it out there, Councillor Marchand?
I'll move we...
Would you be agreeable to me reading the wording of the yeah, there's a specific way. I'm not sure if it's, I think it's, or actually maybe it is exactly in that last recommendation there, Councillor. The whole, yeah, so what you're looking is the council support an application to the province's grid program for Loosedale Water Distribution System Renewal Project at a cost of $500,000, with 50% to be funded by the Utility Depreciation Fund and 50% through grid program.
So moved.
Okay, so we have a motion on the floor. Can I have a seconder?
I'll second it.
Seconded by Councillor Mumbercat. Any discussion on that?
Yes. Excuse me. Troy, are we going to be applying for the both of them at the one time, just to see which one, if any, get approved? I do read that once you have one, you're only going to get one, but once you have one in the works, you cannot apply for another until that's completed. So you're applying for both, or are you just going to apply for the one that was stressed on Benny's Lane?
Well, I'm not sure I understand, but
So there is something in the application as that talks about how there are two, but only one, like you can apply twice. But am I right, CAO, that this application is for both? It's for one of these two, Benny's Lane or?
Two separate applications would have to go, but only one would approve.
Okay.
It was my understanding it was only Benny's Lane that was going in, but I'd have to confirm with Chris. Sorry.
yeah, and my apologies, Gordon. I understood that it was that both could go in one application, but maybe I'm misunderstanding that. Regardless, I would support the application because I do know that the break's there in that issue.
Oh.
And they will only approve one, and while you have one open, even if it carries over multiple years, you can't apply again. And that's why the director's making sure that that information goes in there as part of your consideration. And if he does apply for two and we get one, well, great.
Yeah.
We still get one of them co-paid.
So I think what we are hoping is that both stretches could be included under the umbrella of one proposal. But if the government won't allow that and requires Benny's Lane and the other section at the intersection there, then we're happy to see both of those submitted. Does that answer your question? I can see how reading through this, it could be interpreted both ways, but.
If I may, Madam Chair, through you to the rest of the council, in my conversations with our director, I believed he was trying to capture both repairs in one submission. So hopefully that's how the province sees it as well, and we get the approval and we can address both issues with one application.
Yeah, it does speak about 275 meters at Benny's Lane and 400 meters.
For the extension.
Yeah, yeah. Highway 320. Okay. So does that answer your questions, Councillor Marchand?
I guess my thought is if we did two separate applications, and is there as much a chance that we'll get those two extensions being able to be applied for, I guess, in one application and still get it? That's my worry. I don't know. I mean, our director would have to decide that. So I assumed, I mean, since he can't put two applications in, it would be nice if they were both put in one and we got it and they were both done, you know, in a 2-year period. But I'm thinking, I mean, they're two big projects, so whatever the director decides anyway.
And to be clear, the motion reads the Loosedale Water Distribution System Renewal Project. So that's the motion, which I believe includes the two areas, and we'll hope that that moves forward. Municipalities can submit two applications, but only one could be approved per cycle. And so if we want to prioritize them, this is the way we do that. So is there any other discussion on that? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying yes. Yes.
Yes.
Motion, those opposed? Motion carries. So moving on, if you are following along, pages 40 to 61, this is a briefing note regarding the establishment of a Water Protection Advisory Committee. So I believe that this is something that had been in place before, but needs to be back. And so by way of conversation, in order to get us to the debate stage of this, I'm looking for a motion. The suggested motion is that Council approve the re-establishment of the Source Water Protection Advisory Committee, the draft terms of reference, and the advertising for 2 members of the public to join the committee. So that's the motion we'd be looking for, which would get us to some discussion. Moved by Councillor Marchand. Can I have a seconder? Seconded by Councillor Sampson. So is there discussion on this motion? Go ahead, Councillor Member Kep.
If you don't mind. Thank you. So I guess my point of discussion or my question would be also wondering if we could inquire with the Village of St. Peters as a partner municipal unit within our municipality to see if they would like to do joint establishment of that type of committee, similar to how we do with IDEA, our IDEA committee. Just as I know that source water protection is an issue for both entities, it may be a great opportunity to pool resources and come up with, you know, better ideas and different ways of serving both areas. So I don't know that I'm asking for a change in the motion, just wondering if we could make a commitment to approaching the village to see if even such a thing would be feasible. To be frank, I have not discussed this with them, and maybe it wouldn't work, but just thought some outreach there would be good because more heads are better than few. So.
For sure, it's been particularly effective with the IDEA committee. What I'm hearing is that the motion would stand, but we would ask the CAO to sort of follow up and see if that's an option. Yes, Councillor Marchand?
Yeah, I have no problem, Warden, taking that outside of the motion just to explore it.
Great.
And even if it's allowed under the Water Utility Act, they may need to be standalone, but if they're allowed, then if there's advantages to be gained, we most certainly can have that conversation with the village.
Excellent. Councillor Marchand?
Yeah, I don't have an issue with that, but the terms of reference are clear about a technical representative from the utility municipality. So, Councillor Mumbercat, do they have somebody technical that looks after their water, or is that just somebody independent that they hire? So somebody that's on staff?
Yeah, they have staff will be technical,
So-
looking after their water utility as well. And I, obviously if
We'd have to make,
Troy explores this opportunity and it goes forward, the terms of reference would need to be adjusted slightly to reflect both, but, and I think that's part of the exploration that needs to happen, is,
Yeah.
Is who that might be, if it's appropriate, if it's even allowed to the CAO's point.
So I think what this motion tonight does is it gets us moving forward as we are required for the municipality of the County of Richmond, some exploration potentially to, to save and make find some efficiencies potentially, and if that is allowed, what are the mechanisms we need to get us there? So is there any other discussion on the motion, which is strictly as is with respect to Richmond? Hearing none. Oh, sorry, go ahead, Councillor.
I did have one other question. Sorry, Ward.
No.
I'm trying to raise my hand, but I'm not sure
I know.
what's visible there. So I guess the other comment I would make on it is that this would impact our committee's policy. So we may want to refer it back to bylaw policy committee to include this additional committee in our gigantic list, shall be our matrix. So just for future reference.
Sure, and before we get to that, I'm wondering, CAO, is this of such an urgent nature that we need to decide tonight, tomorrow? Like, what is the time frame, and which of the councillors actually will sit on that? Is that something we can discuss in the next coming days?
We can.
Okay.
We can. We could have it at the ready for the committee of the whole in October.
Great. Okay. So, Councillor Mumbercat, perhaps on the other side of this motion, if you would like to make a motion to refer this to the Bylaw and Policy Committee, then that would get it on our working list. Okay. So we have a motion on the floor to refer, to approve the reestablishment of the Source Water Protection Advisory Committee, draft terms of reference and advertising for the 2 members of the public to join the committee. Any other discussion on that? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying yes. Yes.
Yes.
Those opposed? That motion carries.
Okay, Warden, I'll make an additional motion to refer the Source Water Protection Advisory Committee to our Policy and Bylaw Committee, and specifically to include in our committee's policy.
Great. All those, can I have a seconder on that motion? I'll second. Seconded by Councillor Marchand. Any other discussion on that? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying yes. Yes.
Yes.
Those opposed? Motion carries. Okay, we have correspondence in front of us. Only one of them requires action, and that is an email from Celeste Gotel. You can find that on page 62. Community Outreach Coordinator for the Senior Take Action Coalition regarding National Seniors Day Proclamation request. So the proclamation is also in your package on page 63. If there is an interest and someone would like to move that we proclaim Seniors Day, then I would read which is October 1st, then I would read that for the record. Moved by Councillor Marchand. Can I have a seconder?
I'll second.
Seconded by Councillor Mumbercat. So the motion is to proclaim October 1st, 2025 as National Seniors Day. Can I have, so we have a motion mover and a seconder. Any discussion on that? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying yes. Yes. Those opposed? That motion carries. So, National Seniors Day, October 1st, 2025, whereas October 1st is Canadian National Seniors Day and the UN International Day of Older Persons. It is a day to recognize the accomplishments and contributions of seniors. Seniors are a significant and diverse demographic, one of 4 Canadians, and whereas approximately 46% of population of Richmond County are 55 years and older, whereas seniors of Richmond County have contributed immensely to the life and vibrancy of our community through their wisdom, experience, resilience, and countless hours of volunteer work. And whereas older adults serve as a vital community leaders, caregivers, and mentors, enriching our lives and fostering intergenerational connections. And whereas Senior Take Action Coalition of Richmond County, along with their many partners, seniors clubs, the Dr. Kingston Community Health Center, Richmond River Roots, Tell-Il Community Television, and others, are committed to promoting an age-friendly Richmond County and healthy communities that support seniors' wellness. And whereas it is our collective responsibility to ensure all seniors can live with dignity, independence, and security in a caring community. I therefore be it resolved that I, Warden Lois Landry, on behalf of the Richmond County Municipal Council, do hereby proclaim October 1st, 2025 as National Seniors Day in Richmond County. I urge all residents to recognize and honor the invaluable contributions of our seniors, our senior residents, dated at Arishat this 23rd day of September. Okay. Now, there are other correspondence that do not necessarily include our require action on our part. So there is a Government of Nova Scotia Fall 2025 Agency Board Commission recruitment campaign. So if you know of any good people who would be interested in sitting on any of those committees, the way to do so and the benefits of that are included in that information, which is on pages 64 and 65 of your package. There are two, I believe, letters from Rod Gilroy, the Mayor of the Municipality of Cumberland, to the Honourable Minister John Lohr is one, and the second is similar in nature to the Nova Scotia Federation of Municipalities regarding strong mayor powers, which they have, to quote, zero interest in. That letter, I will just note, came just before the Premier made note that they were not going to pursue that in this legislative sitting. The letter a letter of support for the Senior Take Action Coalition, who is applying for funding for a Supporting Healthy Aging report, is in there. And the annual report for the Senior Take Action Coalition for 24-25 is there. Great meeting held not long ago, and lovely tributes to some folks who are no longer with us, Jean Potty and Claire Doyle. So, any discussions on any of those correspondence? Okay, hearing none. We'll move on to item 16, unfinished business. So action item 505 is letter from Rose Merrick. So you can find the information about this on pages 89 to 91. So there is a letter from Rose Merrick and a staff report on page 89, and then the original letter from Rose Merrick from the River Bourgeois Community Services Society regarding a request to provide funding in the yearly budget for the power base lights at the River Bourgeois Lighthouse. So there are some recommendations from council with some options. So I'm open to conversation or discussion or decision among councillors as to which motion they may like to start with, if any. Go ahead, Councillor Marchand. Or Councillor Mumbercat, I'll...
That's okay. And again, apologies. It's not easy for me to see who's in the room. That being said, I have to say this might be the highest quality virtual meeting I have ever participated in. The technology is working really great, so kudos to staff on that. Yep. Thank you. I did want to just give a little bit of background. So the reason we received this letter from Rose back in March is because Nova Scotia Power, I believe, used to supply power, and so these are floodlight. This is not the light, the beacon inside the light itself. These are the floodlights that light the external face of the building. So it is more, from a tourism community sort of perspective that this lighthouse is always lit, and I believe it was covered by Nova Scotia Power, but they did disconnect those lights, and Nova Scotia Power staff referred those to council and mentioned our streetlight policy as a potential option for them. So that's how this came to us. I just wanted to provide that background.
Thank you.
I wasn't sure if this feel like this has been going on for some time. I
Sure.
can't remember if folks were aware.
Right, and so as as staff has sort of outlined for us, there was hopes that this might fall under the streetlight policy, but As it stands now, that does not. And we do not have a budget item line to be able to provide operational support to this group. So we have some options. We can certainly just decline the request and say so. I think it would be worth saying that. Or we can actually refer this back to bylaw and policy to see if there is a way that the bylaw, the street light policy may be able to be amended. And we may not decide that at that meeting, but that would be a place where we could revisit that. So I'm open to some motion of some sort so that there can be a decision, I think.
Does anybody else have comments on it, or?
I personally would like to see it go to the bylaw policy committee. I personally think that because we're talking about lighting something up especially in the evenings, it would be interesting to see if that could follow there, because I am concerned that otherwise we're looking at operational funding for groups that is a different ball of wax.
Yeah. So I'll make a motion to refer this back to bylaw and policy committee for further consideration, whether we develop a policy as new or amending our streetlight policy.
Yeah. Okay, there's a motion on the floor. Can I have a seconder? Seconded by Councillor Sampson. Is there any discussion on that? Go ahead, Councillor Marchand.
Thank you, Warden. Councillor Mummerket, would you be able to fund this out of your district funds? Because it looks like it might be $700 a year, maybe less, if we weren't able to come to some resolution for this. I just wonder, how are other lighthouses, if they're being lit? Does anybody look into that? How are they being funded?
Yeah, that's a great question, Councillor Marchand, and I think it could potentially, sorry, Warden, it could potentially come from my district fund. What I think is because it's not a project, it's a little difficult to fund under that policy right now. So that's why I'm thinking discussion of bylaw policy might work. And as for the amount, yeah, I'm not sure.
Right, and the concern about that is this is ongoing expense, right? Exactly. I mean, the question would be, they'd be better off putting in an application to buy a generator and use it when they need to. Like there may be, but that would have to go through the grant application process and it would go through staff. So I think at this point, and I will say, Councillor, that I believe what was written by Rose Merrick, if I read through it, it's that this was always funded because there was power to the lighthouse, because that's how the lighthouse light was powered. Since they have since moved to solar, that solar does not provide the lighting for this. So I think that's the as they transition to solar, I think that's, so. Okay, so we have a motion on the floor to refer this to the Bylaw and Policy Committee. Can I have, we have a seconder. All those in favor signify by saying yes. Yes. Those opposed? That motion carries. So the review of action items, CAO or I or others could respond to any questions from councillors. If you have any items, you can see the review of action items on pages 92 to 98 in your package. Any comments, concerns, queries on that? Hearing none from councillors, we'll move on. There were no items added to the agenda, and so now we will open it up for a 10-minute question period. We'll take questions from the gallery or by phone. Again, for folks watching, listening at home, it's 226-9885. There is a slight delay, and this is for restricted to items on the agenda that follow the committee report, but could include items on the action item list. So if there's any comments from the gallery, happy to take those questions, or from phone lines. We typically go to the gallery first while we wait. Hello, sir.
Hello.
How are you?
Good, and you?
Great. So I'm going to, oh, great, your microphone's on. So if you could just give your name for the record.
All right. Name is Mitch Benoit.
Mitch Benoit.
Just live down the road here. My question to council is there any updates on cell phone services? the service right now with the technology that we have is pathetic. I know that it's federal. Is there any way that, you know, maybe our Minister of Parliament, if we were to get get a hold of him, Jamie Batiste, see if he can do anything about it? Because yesteryear, you know, not too long ago, I'd get cell service all through my house. Now I have to go out on my patio and on a certain place on my patio and get service. And I was just wondering if there was, you know, another means of, you know, getting the message through to them.
Thank you, and that actually is an action item on our action item list. And I will say that this council did, I'll turn it over to the CAO in a moment, but I will say that this council did write a letter to Jaime Batiste. And it was because a resident had said to me, you know, he's not a new member of Parliament. He's been a member of Parliament, but he's new to here. And so we really do want to impress on him that in this riding, cell service is really quite horrible. So we did send that letter off and have not received a response from him. But I will say the CAO has his hand up and has some comments to offer. Can you see him from there? Okay.
Hi, thanks, Warden. This council and the previous council had, for the longest time been advocating for the cell towers. A program came out 2 years ago through public safety, and this is where the province came in and said that this is a public safety issue, especially where a lot of people traveling near Nova Scotia have an expectation that if they break down, well, I can just call for help. Well, that's not really the case in lots of parts of Nova Scotia. You cannot call for help. So a number of sites were identified. The one in our area, we signed a lease with the province back in, I want to say it was the spring. They are replacing one of our towers, the one that's in Sterling, from 100 meter to a 300 meter. And then there are 6 other that are slated to be installed in Richmond County. And they're doing phase 1 first, see where the improvements are, and then where they think the other 6 should go will come from real-time tests once the first phase is complete. And we got confirmation last week that the geotechnical on our first tower is taking place over the next 2 months, with construction to follow in the spring. And there is a commitment from the province that the first towers in Richmond will be up by late summer, early fall of 2026. So we have to wait for that to be done before they'll even consider any further sites. But those towers are slated to go up. I believe we have one in Sterling, one in Framboise, and then there's one over in, is it Marble?
Marble Mountain.
That's going to have an effect on
Yep.
the western part of our county.
And what's interesting is you can actually go to buildnovascotia.ca, buildns.ca, and it will give the location of those towers. And it does say, miraculously, that Marble Mountain is going to impact Discouse. And so how can that be? What previous council made a motion to call on the Bell representatives to come and sit where you're sitting and give us a report. They declined that invitation, but they did agree to meet with the CAO and I. And the CAO and I met with someone from Bell. And one of the things that they talked about is that the number of towers was built really. So as you said, we used to be able to use our phones in our house. My brother and I live, you know where we live, we don't live far apart. We may as well go out on there with like tin cans and rope to try on our patios and we can see each other. But what they said is that, you know, watches and phones, and we are streaming whether we realize it or not in our cars. People have multiple devices. People turn off their Wi-Fi sometimes and just draw from data, forget to turn it back on when they go home. So the population is growing and the number of devices is drawing more. So the reason why Marble Mountain might impact Discoos is not because Lois Landry is going to get service from Marble Mountain. It's because somebody in Grand Anse might get service from Marble Mountain, which takes less draw from the tower that is currently being used. And so the challenge is that these things, and I will say that there have been trucks spotted in Marble Mountain, and it's all the talk in the village. But as those towers go up, then you'll figure out where the deadest spots are, and they make decisions from there. But it is a slow process, and you're preaching to the choir here. It is, and the other thing I do want to say is there's a gentleman on the north side, Marcel Boudreau, who frequently posts on social media about the importance of calling when you have a problem and to call relentlessly. He has called saying I drop calls and that kind of thing, and he says, the answer he gets is, I don't think, we don't have any reports of that. But we get frustrated, and then without those calls, so, anytime you can make a report, that is helpful. CAO, did you have your hand up, or was that just bought another cow, just telling you. So, yeah, I don't know if anybody else has anything else to offer, Mitch. I'm with you. Yeah.
We need our auctioneer council.
Yeah. Do you have another question? Yeah. Okay, so I believe Mitch has another question. Happy to take it, but as a matter of protocol, we just ask if anybody else would like to interject. Nope. Okay, so go ahead, Mitch.
All right. My second question is on the deer population here in Richmond County. My problem is, a lot of deer have been in accidents with vehicles, and with the increased population of the deer, that means more accidents, no human fatalities as of yet, or injury to persons. Not to say that, the decrease in population would help, but like I say, with the deer population the way that it's growing and no natural predators and no human harvesting, all right, it has increased. So is DNR taking this into consideration? My question is to council, is DNR taking this into consideration? And also, yesteryear, you could buy a deer tag, doe or buck, all right, and it of course, kept them in check. Now, you have to put your name in a draw and pay for this, all right, in order to get a tag to harvest a doe. Yes. So I'm just wondering why.
I'm happy to answer that as best I can, because it's kind of my jam now, Mitch. Okay. So I will just sort of, and this is, again, on our action item list many times. You put the word deer in the search button, it's going to pop up many, many times. So prior council identified this as an issue and wrote to DNR and had conversations with DNR. So the conversation about deer didn't start November 1st of last year. And I was watching a meeting, and at one point the previous councillor for District 2, we were talking about inviting somebody and actually said, tell them to watch the deer when they come. Like those conversations about the danger of the deer. But I can certainly speak to sort of just since this council came to bear. So there were some discussions about what municipalities could do. And so I want to reiterate that Department of Natural Resources is a provincial department. So it is the provincial government's responsibility. There have been, however, discussions from the province saying that municipalities should take on some of the assessment of whether or not the deer population has gone up. I'm going to get to that in a minute. But you would have to be living under a rock to not know that the deer population has increased, and I would agree with you that the doe population is our biggest concern. So we did reach out to Nova Scotia Community College about potentially doing a deer pellet count. They weren't able to do so, and that's not a criticism of that, of NSCC. They have a curriculum to deliver. Their job is not to do the work of government. Their job is to teach. And so it's always nice when schools can do things, but they were not able to, and I tip my hat to them for holding their ground and making sure students got the programming they needed. But I did meet with DNR on April 23rd, and Mitch, I gave them the list. And I will tell you that the things I talked to them about had to do with the doe population, the parts of the county where that was a problem. I explained that there were fewer people hunting deer, that there were smaller families, that as the doe population increases, we saw novice hunters not willing to hunt where there were so many does for fear of hitting a doe. I talked about food security, vibrant communities, and how seniors weren't going to bingo. I talked about tourism and welcoming visitors, proximity to homes, coyote population, ticks, vehicular accidents, residents taking matters into their own hands, and gave them a picture of Richard Sampson's place with the 18 deer that circulated all over Facebook. So they did give us some suggestions, and council acted on those immediately. So they asked us to have a little bit of education about if you almost hit a deer, make sure you report that so that near misses are recorded. We pushed that out on social media. We pushed out on social media, please don't feed the deer. Definitely did that. They suggested that we write a letter to Public Works and Nova Scotia Power asking that the roads be cleared in areas where the deer population was awful. We did that. I will say that we didn't get a reply to that, but we also have heard several times that because of the drought conditions, any action that could have sparked a fire, so you'll notice the sides of the roads weren't cut. So to be fair, that was something. Council did actually though write a letter on June 3rd to the Department of Natural Resources to reiterate our concerns. We polled which communities were the worst, all of those kinds of things. We didn't hear back from that, but there was a webinar, a deer webinar, Mitch, deer webinar. And it was all about the province talking to municipalities, and they talked about trying to work together with municipalities, and for municipalities to assume some responsibility for deer management plans. There was some talk about ways to control the deer population. There was a good amount of talk about birth control options, which nearly made me lose my mind, but there were some things they asked of municipalities. Somebody on that call, though, did flag that in order for municipalities to get something downloaded to them that involves an expense, that the province is supposed to alert you in advance that, listen, you're going to have to assume some responsibility, there is a cost. So there was some concern, there was some pushback from municipalities. So after that webinar, wrote up a report, and that included reference to food security. So River Roots talked about how the deer were actually pushing in on there and digging underneath there. Robertario talked about, wasn't sure if he was going to plant. He did. Somebody asked him if his carrots grew, and he said didn't matter because of the drought. Didn't matter, the deer ate them all. So I do want to say that, to be fair, so far this season, doe tags have come out. There's a doe tag lottery. The number of doe tags that are being provided has gone up for our district, but those are doe tags. But I do want to let people know, we have been assuming that the bonus tag model was going to continue this year. Last year, the bonus tag program, where if you get one, you can get another, that program was announced on September 19th, and it is the 23rd, and it has not been announced for the 2025 season. So I think a lot of people were assuming there was a bonus tag, but I can tell you, Mitch, that there is nobody here who disagrees that the deer population is a problem. It is a provincial jurisdiction, and we have asked for direction as to what we can do to move this along within reason and crickets. Have I miscaptured any of that? Yeah. It isn't because we haven't been, there isn't a time that, I've lost track of how many times Jake and I at Tell Ill discuss it. It is a going concern. Mitch, I had somebody who moved in with me for 2 weeks. It was my son's stepbrother who moved in while he waited for the dorms at St. FX to open, 2 days before he hit a deer. 18 years old, first car, driving along, poor university student, 2 days before he hit a deer and all but smashed his car. Like, and I told him, watch the deer.
I drive out of my driveway and I have to look both ways for deer, not traffic. Deer, then the traffic.
So I know that that's not a satisfactory answer to the deer question, but I will say that that's what we have tried to do.
At least I got an answer.
Yeah, you're welcome. Anyway, long answers to those questions, but any other, I got to vent, so thanks for that. Anybody, any other questions? We had none from the gallery that I'm, right? We didn't have any, yeah, or from the phone lines. And hearing no other from the gallery, I will declare this meeting adjourned. Thank you.
Thanks, folks.
Thank you. Bye, guys.
Folks.